Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're when we speak. How a listener hears what we're saying. If what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding because after we get that understanding, what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen. What you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen. How we hear. How we speak. How we hear what we're listening to when we speak. How a listener hears what we're saying. If what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Sure. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Swimming Pool. I am your host, Travis Bridges, and this is Swim-ing Pool. Swim, S-W-I-M, that is the acronym for Say What You Mean. It's important to do that. I know you know that, but I like saying it anyway. You know why? Because you see all these commercials on TV. We know where to get hamburgers from, but every other commercial that comes on TV has the golden arches just somewhere, just banging in our face. You know why? Because faith comes by hearing, and hearing, the big M's, will have you in that drive-through doing what you know you don't need to do. So just try that shoe on the other foot and see how it fits in terms of me constantly saying, say what you mean, because it's important. You ever said something to someone and they heard something different? Or someone is saying something to you, and based on how you're feeling, you might receive it a little differently. And before you know it, her mad at her and him mad at him. And him and her don't talk for a long time. And so long that they don't even know what they're upset, mad, or angry about. And it just doesn't make sense. And I'm just here to bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, how we pay attention, what we do with the information. With that being said, many times I like to ask people, if you change your mind or have a change of heart, were you manipulated? Were you persuaded? Or did you just make a change based on the information that was presented because you took the time to listen, to hear, to pay attention, and to use the information you gathered to feel, think, be, respond, and react differently? That's all I'm saying. So, again, the topic tonight is accountability. It is, isn't it? Accountability. Falsely accused. Everybody knows somebody that said somebody did something just because they needed something to say. I have two clips I'm going to play, and I want you to listen carefully to exactly what happened. But I always like to reference my favorites, and they're not my favorites because of what happened, because it's a tragedy, but they're my favorites because they really do expound upon what it means to be lied on, cheated, talked about, mistreated, You know the song. I think it was Vicki Winans who said, long as I got King Jesus. Well, it's an inspirational gospel song. Look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. And maybe I won't just look crazy sitting here singing on my Wednesday night live stream. But I like to reference Brian Banks. Brian Banks was a promising athlete who was accused of sexual assault and did probably 10 years because that sexual assault claim was a lie. It took him 10 years of doing good hard time for the truth to eventually come out. And you know what happened to his accuser? Nothing. You know what happened to him? He missed out on an awesome career and lots of time in his life. I like to reference, one of my favorite movies also, The Green Mile. The Green Mile, played by John Coffey. John Coffey was played by Michael Clark Duncan, may he rest in peace. But he did a good job with Tom Hanks in that movie. There were two little girls who were assaulted, and they were assaulted by someone else. And the blame was placed on John Coffey because he could not defend himself. He didn't do anything wrong. Just like Brian Banks, he didn't do anything wrong. But you know what? Not only was he tossed in jail/prison, but guess what he did, according to Tom Hanks in the movie? He rode the lightning, meaning for a false claim and a lie that was pinned against him. It's not right. It's not fair. You know what else is another one of my favorites? Not because of the travesty in the incident, is the Central Park Five. Those five brothers look just like me. And I watched, I listened, I heard, I remember when the case was going on. I was much younger then. I remember at one time I thought, oh man, why they do that? Especially when, famous people were putting up money just to find, anyone who could blame it on them or something to that degree. Anyway, those five boys served time, and the accusers, the prosecutors, you know what happened to them? Much of nothing. You know what happened to most people who flat out just tell bald-faced lies on people? Usually nothing. Those kind of people, I guess, have their day coming, and there's something called karma. I guess it, happens. I've done wrong. I've not been perfect all of my life, but I don't ever recall just flat out lying and pinning something on someone and pretending someone did something just so that I can get some kind of attention or some kind of gain. But it happens all the time. And I'm going to play a clip for you that proves it. And the point I want to make, even before I make the point, is this. Be careful with this thing in front of your face. Don't run it so much. Don't let this thing be controlled or over control this thing and this thing in here. It's called a heart. Don't talk so much. Don't let your feelings, your emotions get so caught up that you lie and then you stick to the lie because, for whatever reason, I'm just having a heart for people who are mistreated. It's just not good. It's not cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the clip that I have of a case that just got brought into the media. And this is one of many cases, and it's just not right. And I want to talk to those people. If you know you have that in you, go to church on Sunday. Go get in the line. Go ask, them to get that off of you, because it's a shame. You shouldn't have that kind of spirit inside of you. Again, I'm not calling anybody out because, again, I'm not perfect either. I probably shouldn't eat so much. They say gluttony is a sin and it's wrong. So I'm not saying, okay, somebody's doing something bad wrong and I'm just, But if someone starts to talk about, a proper diet and exercise, I will turn my head and listen, and I'll do the best I can. I don't just constantly sit down and eat bad food all the time and never exercise. I at least make an effort. And that's all I'm saying to you. If you know you nasty, go get some counseling. Go get prayed for. Go get something. Okay? Stop lying and stop trying to find attention and stop trying to get, something quick just because you can. Come on, man. Christine, what's up? Anthony Morrow, what's happening? Jackie is in the house. I appreciate everybody who listens to me. Again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I'm not a preacher, teacher, writer, fighter, electrician. I'm none of that. Or a politician. How's it go, Curtis Blow? Christmas rap song. Look it up. A writer or a fighter or a politician. Anyway, no, I'm none of that. This is therapy for me. When I turn on my Wednesday night, I come on just to say hey and talk about certain things. Sometimes I'll have a guest. Last week I had a guest and we talked about some good things too. And before I go, I want to talk about somebody in the biblical days. You remember Potiphar? Look it up. He was a powerful man, and Joseph was his servant, and his wife thought Joseph was hot, and she wanted to get with Joe. And she saw Joe hanging out around the crib. And although Potiphar was her thing, she wanted a little something else. So you know what she did? She plotted against Joseph. And she said, I think I want me some of that. And I'm going to get me some of that. And you know what she did? She waited till her husband wasn't there. And she caught Joseph. And she said, come here, boy. And Joseph was a good man, and he just did not think it was right that he go and be with the wife of the man who was, paying him and treating him right. And he was an upstanding man. So he said, nah, lady, you can't get none of this. And he tried to get away from her. And you know what she did? She tore his clothes off, and he had to run to get away from that woman. She was coming at him. And you know what she did? She lied on him. Read that story. It's such a shame. It happens all the time. And y'all ought to cut that mess out. Come on now. Nigel is in the house. What's up, Nige? I'm just talking a little bit. I'm not preaching. I'm just talking because somebody needs to say something. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the clip. And I might stop it. You won't see my face. I'm sure you're not sad about that. But when I play these clips, I just want you to listen to the stories. Maybe I'll play them again, and then maybe I'll, go through them because I want to respond to some of this. This is about people who were accused of something, did time for it, and then somehow got exonerated, and nothing happened or nothing is happening to the people who did this stuff. And it just ain't right, man. If I ever left this planet, before my time or when my time is come up, you may remember me for a lot of things. But I would like to be the guy who said, hey, let's do something about people who lie on people and then get to walk away whenever they can't, whenever their lie doesn't stick. When the truth is eventually revealed. And I will say this, if you are a person, you've been lied on, somebody's doing you wrong, man, it hurts. It hurts when you get nailed, and getting spat on and treated badly. Maybe not that bad. But, you have to be strong when you know you're right in your heart. It's not easy. We want to retaliate. We want to do something to them. But we can't do that. So if you find yourself in that place or you find someone else in that place, it's not easy because the average person really does want to get back at somebody who they know is doing them wrong. And then they're even glad to see whenever the tables turn. That's what I was talking about, last week. Whenever you set a trap for somebody and then that karma comes back and it's in your face, you don't like it. There's a saying that goes like this, ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. Well, we just got to learn to do the right and the best thing at all times. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's not asking much. Okay, so let's go to the clip. Let's listen. Let's pay attention to what we hear because I have two. And I think I'm going to be out of here maybe in a half hour more. But because I'm sleepy, got to get up early in the morning. All right, here's the clip. Watch, look, listen, think about it. And if I stop it, just let me stop and talk a little bit. Okay, here we go. And action.
Every black resident, I am sorry not only for the abuse our city enacted, but for the beliefs and the bias that brought them to bear in the first place.
Now at 5 o'clock, a formal apology from Boston Mayor Michelle Wu to two black men wrongly accused in the Charles Stewart case.
You remember the Charles Stewart case? Okay.
It's now been more than 3 decades since the...
3 decades. If my math serves me right, that's 30 years, 10 times 3.
Men were accused in the death of Carol Stewart in a story that just dominated the headlines. And the mayor says this apology is long overdue. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Wade.
And I'm Lisa Hughes. The arrests of Alan Swanson and Willie Bennett in 1989 divided the city. WBZ's Beth Germano is live in Boston. And Beth, the mayor is hoping that this apology will mend a rift that still exists.
Because it was certainly a dark chapter in Boston's history. Black men racially profiled in the search for the killer of a pregnant white woman. In the end, we know it ended with the revelation that Charles Stewart himself was the mastermind. But for these wrongly accused men and their families, they say this is a day they have waited for too long.
I am so sorry for what you endured.
Got that. I thought that was very nice. Now, I would talk about something else, something about the person who's actually making the apology. There's a connection in that, but I won't even go there. But thank you, Miss Michelle Wu, for apologizing on behalf of the people who should be apologizing. I'm just going to leave it right there. But that was really nice of her, and that's what you're supposed to do. She got in that position. She realized that, of course, she had nothing to do with it, so she would take the heat for the whole city, and she apologized, and rightfully so.
What was done to you was unjust, unfair, racist, and wrong.
They were words the family of Willie Bennett and Alan Swanson himself had waited 34 years to hear after both men were wrongly targeted in the notorious Charles Stewart murder case that had rocked the city and the nation.
I cannot sit here. Hold on a second.
And Alan Swanson himself had waited 34 years to hear after both men were wrongly targeted.
Look at him. Look at him. Now, what he did was he plotted against those two brothers. Well, maybe not against them. He didn't care. But he told a lie and thought he was going to get away with it. Something inside of that skull of his made him think that, I know I can get away with this because I'm superior. I'm better than them. I might have a little bit more money. I might have a little more privileges. I've got a little more than them. So I can plot this. I can set this up and I can get away with it. Look at him. Ugh.
In the notorious Charles Stewart murder case that had rocked the city and the nation.
It takes great humility and courage to acknowledge someone else's wrongdoings and to try to make amends. Your apology is accepted.
My wife's been shot. I've been shot.
It was the 911 call back on October 23rd, 1989 that set the case in motion. Charles Stewart claiming a black man had shot and killed his wife Carol and shot him in the stomach.
This man said they shot his wife in the stomach and, they shot. Come on, man. What kind of lie is that?
They left a birthing class at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Alan Swanson was the first man arrested and jailed for 3 weeks.
It still haunts me everywhere I go. The name, my name. Everywhere I go, they say Swanson. They refer to the Stewart case.
He was never charged, as Boston police then
Never charged, but 3 weeks of his life was held up because of a lie.
Wrote in on Willie Bennett, a man with a history of violent crime. As black men.
It still haunts me everywhere I go. The name, my name. Everywhere I go, they say Swanson. They refer to the Stewart case.
He was never charged, as Boston police then zeroed in on Willie Bennett, a man with a history of violent crime. As black men throughout the city were targeted.
Absolutely, and still targeted.
A hunt for the killer before Charles Stewart with a history of violent crime. As black men throughout the city were targeted in a hunt for the killer before Charles Stewart jumped off the Tobin Bridge as his story began to unravel 73 days later.
And that's what happened. He realized that he was about to get busted, as she said, as his story unraveled. He jumped off the bridge. Why didn't he just do that before he did all that other stuff? Why do people just get to exit out after they create all this damage for other people? Why? And why we sit up there and just don't say nothing? We march for everything else. Well, let's march for that.
The history of violent crime, as black men throughout the city were targeted in a hunt for the killer before Charles Stewart jumped off the Tobin Bridge, as his story began to unravel 73 days later. Bennett told WBZ-TV's Cheryl Fiandaca 6 years ago that Stewart is a monster.
I used to get chills every.
A monster? How about the devil himself? A monster? Man, I know some nice monsters. Come on, man.
Before Charles Stewart jumped off the Tobin Bridge, as his story began to unravel 73 days later. Bennett told WBZ-TV's Cheryl Fiandaca 6 years ago that Stewart is a monster.
I used to get chills every time I used to hear that man's name.
And it's true. There's some damage that's done to people when they are taunted by that. I can relate, bro. I really can. Anytime you hear it, it's like, come on, man, this is a person who is creating unrest for me. Of course, people will say, just don't think about it. Don't worry about it. But, when it's your behind on the line based on a lie that somebody could actually get away with, man, there's room for concern. You don't worry about it, but naturally, if a dog is behind the fence, he's barking, he's growling. No, he can't get out. But you know what? I'm still not going to go over to the fence because maybe he could dig under it. Maybe he could jump over it. Of course, he's on the other side of the fence. But there's always that concern that, it could happen.
Later, Bennett told WBZ-TV's Cheryl Fiandaca 6 years ago that Stewart is a monster.
I used to get chills every time I used to hear that man's name. I know I didn't do it. They know I didn't do it.
Of course they know you didn't do it.
Today, there was a formal letter of apology to the men and their families, but they've been looking for more for years.
We're going to change the narrative on this Bennett hoax. We did that.
Alan Swanson says he remains destitute as a result. How does this help you? Does it help you?
It can help me move forward a little bit, but that case still it's never going to go away.
And in fact, Willie Bennett's mother received just a $12,500 settlement with the city after filing lawsuits.
What? She received what?
It's never going to go away.
And in fact, Willie Bennett's mother received just a $12,500 settlement with the city after
that ought to cover some tears.
Filing lawsuits. Mayor Wu said today this is just a first step in a long road of accountability for the city.
Like that. But anyway, the mother, if I'm on, let's see if I'm on still. Oh, I think I am. Wow, man, let me still be on. Somebody send me a text or crew, let me know. What I'm saying is they gave his mama $1,200 for, her son being, busted, disgusted, and almost never being trusted. And I guess they said that's the beginning of quite a few settlements. Because you know what? It's one thing to do wrong and to, hey, listen, man, we're wrong and we're sorry. Don't send somebody else out there to do it. Where is the prosecutor? Where are the people who supported that? Come on, man. You just can't. And I guess that's what makes me believe that there's an ultimate ruler, in that. Wow, I hope I'm still on. I see this thing, and I keep saying I'm going to fix it. That's what makes me believe there's an ultimate ruler, because we're here to rule the earth. And I believe there's another dimension, some way, somehow, in the spirit realm, that causes people to jump off bridges, or people will never tell you they don't sleep well or they don't sleep right anymore after they've done something wrong. But you know what? There is peace in, what is the word I'm looking for? There is peace in repentance. Sometimes people make a mistake, and that's not what we're talking about. If you make a mistake, by all means, apologize and let bygones go on by. But if you just got busted and then you start talking about, I'm sorry, different story. That's not what we're talking about. So they gave his mama $12,500. That's the beginning. They'll probably give her some more hush money. And of course, it doesn't solve It doesn't give back, what you lose. But, I guess it does something, and something is better than nothing in some cases. But Charles Stewart, shame on you. I'm sure, you'll get what's coming to you for that lie you told on Willie and Allen. And I have another case that I want to talk about here in just a minute. That one was in 1989. I might have been about 19, 20 years old about then. This next one was in 91. Same scenario. It happens all the time. And we need to do something about it. That song, right? She said, people want to hear about it, Betty. I'm going to use that same tone and say, we need to do something about it, y'all. Okay, here we go. Stand by.
A man who was wrongfully convicted says that a Suffolk County prosecutor stole his freedom. As 5 Investigates first reported last Friday, that prosecutor is now on paid leave amid allegations of misconduct.
Our Mike Bodette sat down with a man who spent decades in prison and is still fighting for justice. Mike.
Maria and Ed, Robert Foxworth always maintained his innocence. He was released from prison in December 2020 after spending nearly 3 decades in prison for a 1991 murder in Boston.
What is it about these 3 decades? The other guy spent 34 years. This guy spent 3 decades also. I guess after 30 years, they figure, it's time for a lie to dissolve. But anyway, I just noticed that. I can't even say it like him. Falsely identifying Foxworth as the killer.
After it came out that a member of the prosecution team coerced the only eyewitness into falsely identifying Foxworth as the killer.
Falsely identifying Foxworth as the killer. Man.
Now another Suffolk County prosecutor is accused of wrongdoing in the case.
I lost my mom to cancer during this time frame, and the Department of Corrections wouldn't allow me to attend her final send-off because I was deemed a murderer.
Robert Foxworth reading from a letter he wrote as part of a complaint filed with the Office of the Bar Counsel against Suffolk County Assistant District Attorney Mark Lee.
Mark Lee, look at that face. Just look at him. I ain't mad at him. But if I could take this pen that I'm holding and bend it back and just let it go on his nose like that. No, see, that's not good. I'll say, I'm sorry, Lord.
Mark Lee, you played a major role in crippling me. I did you no wrong. I never met you, never hurt you.
Foxworth says Lee, deputy chief of the DA's homicide unit, who helped prosecute the double murder case against New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez, does not belong in the district attorney's office.
This guy basically was going to leave me to die in jail.
He said this guy was basically going to leave me to die in jail. You want to know how many he probably did leave to die somewhere? And it's because of the tone that's on the skin that he wears. I don't like to be the one who called the R word. I don't like to play the race card. I don't. But look at him. Look at that brother. He looks like an easy target that someone can get. And sometimes all they want is a number in the win column. And listen to what he says. Listen to the brother.
Unit who helped prosecute the double murder case against New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez does not belong in the district attorney's office.
This guy basically was going to leave me to die in jail. You can't have people like that in a position of power.
Of any kind. You give some people a title and authority, and they run, slam into a brick wall, because that's where they eventually end up. People who flex their power like that always hit the wall. But it's just sad to hear. It's just sad to hear this man say what he just said.
Does not belong in the district attorney's office.
This guy basically was going to leave me to die in jail. You can't have people like that in a position of power.
In a complaint filed last week with the Office of the Bar Counsel, Foxworth's attorney says Lee was told by an informant back in 2007 that Foxworth did not commit the crime.
He was told back in 2007 that Robert Foxworth did not commit the crime. He was told that. He was told, and he knew from the beginning. It was confirmed. It wasn't just told. I did a little investigation. He knew. But how do you look going back and saying, I'm sorry? The truth is, you look rather ethical in saying, I'm sorry.
And that the informant knew that because the informant was actually involved in the murder.
And he knew that the informant was involved. And when he told him, do you know what it looks like? I did another series. I think it was T.D. Jakes who said the courage to change and a heart, a head game. It's on my channel. People will lie for so long that they don't even know how to go back and say, hey, I was wrong and I'm sorry. It may feel bad, but it's not bad at all. And this guy was told, man, this guy didn't do that. Why didn't he find another crooked way? Since he's crooked anyway, find a crooked way to get the man out sooner instead of just letting him sit there because you are embarrassed at the lie you told from the beginning.
Lee allegedly did not bring that information forward and has continued to work in the DA's office. What is Mark Lee's motivation? Why would he not want this information to come out?
I have no idea why.
Well, I do. It's because he's ashamed. He knew he was crooked and the covers are being pulled off of him and he wants to try to continue to cover it up. That's why anybody who will lie and stick to a lie will stick to a lie. And they'll have something inside their head. I just believe this and I just know. Here's the proof, here's the fact, here's the evidence. Where's your brain now?
A prosecutor would do his job that way. I can't imagine a less appropriate way to do that job.
The DA's office has hired an outside firm to investigate the allegations while placing Lee on paid leave. Lee released a statement saying, I expect that once a review has been completed, I will return to doing the job I have proudly done for 25 years. Lee's legal team added, we believe that this complaint against Mark Lee, a prosecutor of high ethical standards, is simply baseless.
What I think should happen is that Mark Lee should resign and he should apologize. He owes this man an apology.
And I know you want him to be held accountable. Do you think he will be held accountable?
No.
And that's sad. Look at his face. Look at that poor fellow's face. He knows that he did time. He knows that he was lied on. He knows that the people, the man in particular that lied on him, is going to just walk away. So my brother, you just might have to take the law into your own hand. I didn't say that. You just may have to wait till you get to heaven and let God fix it for you. Because down here on this worldly earth, man, people don't make good when they're wrong. They just don't. And I'm sorry for you, man. Robert Foxworth, I sure hope you are finding peace. And I'm really sorry, brother, you had to go through that. I really am. I really am.
He owes this man an apology.
And I know you want him to be held accountable. Do you think he will be held accountable?
No. I don't think so.
Foxworth's attorney says she does have hope that the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office will do the right thing. Foxworth has already received cash settlements from the state and the city of Boston for his wrongful conviction. Mike Bodette, 5 Investigates.
Mike Bodette, he did get a little change too. That's just to, keep the dust from rising up too much. And there's nothing wrong with getting a little change. It does give you, I like to use, from the movie Pursuit of Happiness, Will said, 30 more days of oxygen. You do get a little money and you do get to pay some bills. And, that is a big part of life. The boy's mama, the guy's mama, rather, got, $12,500 as a beginning. My investigation says she did get a little more and she's got a little more on the way. And that will help some. But I'm going to close now. I just don't want to do this anymore. I would run those back, but you can look them up. They both happened in Boston, and they're both now being, brought to the light, along with many other things. And I'll just say this, it's never easy. And we can look at it on the news while we're eating our dinner, or we can listen to it in the car while we're driving to or from work, and we'll hear these stories. And because they don't hit home, we can just go on about our day, go on about our life. But when it comes up in your front yard, you're going to want somebody to be there for you. And I really think we should cut this mess out. People who falsely accuse people and sentence people when they know better, and they know that they know better, and it can be proven that they know better, we shouldn't just let them walk away with, an apology, throw some money at the person whose lives was totally devastated, and then just let it go. There was a famous philosopher, I don't know who he was right off, but it's something that goes like this. We govern ourselves according to the reward or the punishment we're going to receive. If people knew what would happen to them if they were caught more, maybe it would be a deterrent. Nobody's perfect. We all have fallen short, of the glory of God. We've all been wrong. But when you know better, you're supposed to do better. And by all means, when you get caught, man, you got to put your hands up, and you got to go ahead and go through and get what you're supposed to get. If you obtain mercy, if you get a break, okay, so be it. But there comes a time where you have to stop the madness. Christine, Jackie, Anthony, Nigel, and everybody else that came to see me this evening. I appreciate it. This is therapy for me. I get to talk about some stuff. I do have a therapist, and I do visit, and we do sit down and we talk. But this is just a different outlet. I like to come and bring awareness to this, because you'll hear this on the news, and a few more days will go by and we'll be eating our Christmas dinner and opening up gifts and won't even think about these people anymore. And there are many people right now that are in positions that are suffering at the hands of a liar. And most of these cases, they always come up. It's just a matter of time. The bully always gets punched in the face. They always meet their match. But in the meantime, people do suffer. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. Till the next time, do me a small favor. Find somebody you need to say I love you to. Don't just say it, but show it, mean it, and let it be true. Do the right and the best thing. God is the ultimate judge. But while you're here on the earth, we see you. And we know when you look in the mirror, you see you. If you are a liar, cheater, stealer, or you are a hateful, mean monster, rest well, okay? Good night, everybody.
SWYM. Say what you mean. As much as this information is designed to bring awareness to how we listen, hear, and process, it is also a form of therapy. The little person inside of all of us needs to be heard. As adults, even listening to ourselves is a form of healing, strengthening, and growth. It's okay to speak, talk, express yourself, and be heard, even if you're the only listener. If our testimony does anything at all for anyone else, that makes the continued effort worth the time. Get the words out. You'll feel better, and that's a promise. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
I always press the wrong button, but I like this part of the song.
Sometimes it seems like all the good times are gone.
But the week.